big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. The last encounter with today's guest had him at the helm of the big cat in the sporting world. But today, he strides in as the visionary behind the newest feline contender. With an impressive $53 million funding, a star-studded team of heavy hitters, and a strategic acquisition of India's foremost sportswear supplier, please welcome Abhishek Ganguly, the founder of Agilitas, onto this week's show. Well, Abhishek, fantastic having you back on the show, this time as the founder and CEO of Agilitas.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
So, the industry has all kinds of stories brewing about, the fact that, you gave up this cushy job at Puma, where you were looking at many markets, not just India. And of course, you'd managed to get Puma as one of the top brands in India. And then all of a sudden, I don't know why this, startup kind of germ hit you and you just decided to quit it all. So how long has this, this desire to do something of your own been harboring inside you, and what was the trigger?
Well, almost 2 decades back, I just stumbled upon the sportswear industry, not by design, I would say serendipity. And then I was with Reebok for the first 3 years, and when Puma was setting up its subsidiary in India, joined in as the founding team member, as a second employee. Great journey, I wouldn't trade it with anything else. Phenomenal 17 and a half years with the brand, where the brand rose from, very, very, very humble beginning, I would say, to a dominant player in the industry. Had a great time. And then, of course, in the meantime, I was also doing some of the other markets other than India. I was also running Southeast Asia for the company. Well, I always wanted, deep within, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I stayed with Puma because that was probably the closest I got in the corporate world, because how Puma operated India, the global board actually gave a lot of, I would say, headroom to operate the business in the way which is right for the market, with a lot of decisions being taken here in India.
Sure.
And that's why probably I stayed that long. But I think my time, somewhere I felt that my time was up. The brand was in a great zone, like you would know, in terms of its position, in terms of its, I would say overall, the status of the brand and the stature of the brand overall in the consumer's mind. I firmly believe that the next 5-10 years is going to be game-changing. I want to be a part of that story that unfolds. And when I look, I feel I'm my opportunity to be in sportswear. Given the way sportswear is going to grow in the next 5-10 years, I wanted to really create something and build on this opportunity that will come in the next 5 to 10 years. So yeah, I won't say it was an easy call to from a corporate to an entrepreneur. I'm not in my 20s anymore, and wanted to take this kind of a leap of faith. And I'm glad that with two of my co-founders, Amit and Atul, who I know for a long time, we could actually conjure up something and get started with Agilitas.
I'm glad you brought up your co-founders. Both your co-founders have worked with you closely at Puma. They were also holding top positions at Puma. So, 3 of you obviously saw the potential of what you're looking to do with Agilitas. I'll come to what Agilitas is in just a bit. But when was it that 3 of you thought that it was time to get off your corporate jackets and get your hands dirty?
Look, in my mind, it was for the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years. It was coming up that at some stage, I want to end my corporate career and get started with a venture. With Atul and Amit, I think individually, I had conversations, let's say a year back, year and a half back, maybe a year back. I know them for the last 7, I know Amit for almost 18 years now, I know Atul for 17 years, more than family to me. Our understanding has been, which is very important when you really co-found something, it's very important that what is the synergy on one side and how do you complement each other. So I think three of us are very different individuals with very different personality types, and that really works because we believe that we kind of round the circle, not fully, but substantially. And that's where I had independent conversations. I think Amit had a stint of entrepreneurship in between when he left Puma, and then he came back, and in between he had done a startup. So I think he would always talk about that journey on how he really enjoyed it and how entrepreneurship gets the opportunity to create something from scratch. And we chatted about it, and I think when I look back, I think having that kind of a partnership, understanding with the co-founders is super important, and I'm super glad that we could all come together to get started.
But this must have been a shocker for Puma. Your top guy plus your CFO and your sales and business head, all of them leaving together they must have fallen off their chairs.
Well, I won't deny that it was probably difficult to accept for our global board that we had decided to go. But we have also been there for a long time, being a part of the journey from ground level up to what Puma is. I think there has been a lot of contribution towards creating this brand. And to be honest, it was like any successful company, any successful venture, it is not just about three people. You cannot just win by 1, 2, 3 people. So we had really created a very, very strong organization which could stand on its own. I'd hate to believe that something that I leave is not strong enough to stand on its own when I go. I believe that when you step out into a new challenge, it also gives an opportunity for the organization to think a bit afresh.
A fresh set of eyes.
Yeah, so fresher legs, fresher minds. So I think at some stage, I think that also, for Puma, that's also something that will be relevant, that they have now a new set of management leading this.
Sure.
And because I stayed for that long, I don't regret this. I firmly believe that I did not leave something which was very unfinished. I think I finished my game there.
Your business with Puma is finished.
Yeah, my business with Puma is finished, and I think in my life I need one. I wanted a new successful journey.
Sure.
I want to write one more story for myself.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Agilitas. For my own understanding and my viewers, take us through what Agilitas is. I believe that's the holding company. But what is in a sense, the vision and the plan for Agilitas?
Look, the model is simple on a market that is growing 4x from 2023 to 2030. Sportswear, because people are playing more sport, people are focusing on themselves, and that will grow as the economy grows. If you look at some of the more evolved economies in the world, if you look at how Japan, when they became an economic powerhouse, sports culture there grew in the 80s, in the early 80s. China, early 90s, when they came in to be an economic stronghold, sports grew in China. So if India's time is now with economic development, there is a very, very strong correlation for development of sports and fitness culture.
Okay.
And that's what we are betting on, that this market is going to grow. On one side, this market is going to grow, and on the other side, India doesn't particularly follow a global template for success, because India comes with its own nuances and opportunities. Having spent almost 2 decades in the industry, we thought it's our opportunity to really create something which, on one side, the market is growing, on the other side, there is no fixed template, but you actually have to nuance the market, and as you go along. So when we created the Agilitas platform, we actually wanted to impact the entire value chain, right from manufacturing to retail.
The entire funnel.
The entire funnel. Because manufacturing in sportswear, especially given that footwear is almost 70% of sportswear, sports footwear manufacturing in India is very, very nascent, compared to how China or Far East is, right? And that will change. And the government is doing a lot of things to actually help promote this local manufacturing setup of sports footwear. And given that, we said one of the starting points would be to acquire the largest sports manufacturing, footwear manufacturing company, a company that I personally knew the promoters for good 15, 20 years. In fact, at Puma, it used to be one of our key suppliers. So I knew the quality of the product, and I definitely knew that they were among all of that is available in this nascent manufacturing setup, they're the best of the best of the best. And that's when we discussed it with them that now they have come to a certain level, but to further fuel this will require investments in terms of capital to, human resources and skills and technology and capabilities. And we thought that that's something that we can pick up, because we also didn't want to start our journey from ground level. We said we need a good solid start, and we started with manufacturing. So manufacturing.
This is Mochiko.
Mochiko Shoes. It's a company which was founded almost 15, 16 years back. Today, they are contract manufacturers for a lot of global brands: Puma, Adidas, Reebok, Skechers, New Balance, Crocs, Decathlon, and it's all of it is growing quite solidly as the market grows, and all the brands are realizing closer to market, having a supply chain keeps them very fast and nimble in their approach. So we now see this to grow at least 3x, and it becomes as a good starting point for us. And the promoters continue to be in the business to continue to operate this business. It's quite a large setup with almost 10,000 people. And that's what Agilitas' starting point is. But now we are also going to make investment on the consumer side.
Okay, before I get into what you're going to, what consumer brands is going to be housed by Agilitas, you talked about closer to home manufacturing. Is this also important because of the new regulations that the government is bringing in with BIS, which is Bureau of Indian Standards?
Well,
because we saw that happening with toys last year.
Yeah.
We're going to see that next year with shoes and other categories.
Right.
So what will be the immediate impact one will see for, let's say, the sporting industry?
So I'll take that in two parts. One is that closer to the market supply chain is sometimes very fundamental to growth of a category. If you look at how China grew sportswear, it really was China for China supply chain. They built manufacturing, and the brand side grew for all the brands. Having that access to China for supply chain really helped being faster, quicker, more nimbler. And I think that's going to happen for India also. Like, more and more brands are realizing it's always better in India, because you really crash a lot of the lead time. You can act fast. You can be quicker in decision making. If there is an opportunity on certain demand, you can quickly place an order. You can really plan the supply chain in a big way. The other thing is that BIS is also a new regulation by the government, but primarily it's a QCO. And that actually means that the government is focusing a lot in protecting the consumer from a quality standpoint. So the government's new regulation ensures that all the products sold in India are actually certified by the Indian standard of regulation for footwear, which also means that a lot of substandard, sub-quality products, often imported from other markets, are all going to go. And that also means that good quality production setup like the one that we have acquired and will further enhance.
Which is BIS certified.
Which is BIS certified. So Mochico got the BIS license quite early in the journey, and we are focusing a lot on ensuring that we are above par on all the regulation, on all the standards. So the point is not just about local manufacturing here. It is about having good quality manufacturing, good quality products, and that's why with the new regulation, it has become even more important that good quality footwear factories come up, because otherwise it will not pass the new regulation.
Okay, but what are the challenges you see for the current players in this industry? Because a lot of players actually manufacture their sporting gear or sporting shoes or footwear outside of India. So in the interim, before people kind of plan their lives, what is going to be the impact? There's definitely going to be some amount of negative impact.
I guess so, because whenever you change the paradigm, you cannot plan for the future and then seamlessly move into future. There will be a year or a season or two of this transition.
So there will be a supply chain shortfall.
I would imagine, but I guess that the local manufacturing ecosystem will really shore up very, very soon. And I think in the long term, if you take a 2 to 3 year view, this will all get sorted out. Maybe I'm underestimating this. This can even probably happen in less than a year's time, because there is a lot of effort going on in enhancing the quality standards, enhancing the kind of manufacturing setup that exists. Newer people are getting into manufacturing of sports footwear. And there are a lot of global players who are coming and investing in Indian sports footwear manufacturing.
I have a tricky question for you, Abhishek, and I know you're going to try and duck the question or be.
I probably won't.
is the fact that with the whole BIS, stamp coming into play, of course it will, a lot of factories out of India have to ensure that they get BIS certified if they want to supply to India. But in the meantime, what is going to happen is there's going to be a lot of push to actually create infrastructure in the country. Yeah. Don't you think maybe the BIS kind of regulation should have come after the infrastructure is actually fully equipped in the country, and then go on to this regulation? Because the fact of the matter is India is not a big creator of footwear. We don't have that kind of experience or expertise. We don't have design labs. We don't have that kind of engineering thinking when it comes to sporting wear. So don't you think this might have been a bit premature in bringing in the regulation?
So I'm going to bat on the favor of the government here.
Obviously.
And the batting in favor of the government is that it is not a new thinking. If you see, the government has been talking of BIS it's not in fact, there has been always a pushback and giving more time. It has been happening for the last couple of years.
Couple of years?
Yeah, it's been happening.
2 years.
It has been happening, and every time. So now let's say the government says 2025. Let's say instead of 2024. I can only tell you, I've been on the brand side. I think it's a natural instinct for all of us to think in a particular way and say, hey, can we have another 6 months? Can we have one more year? But to be honest, it's a chicken and egg story, right? If you don't build quality supply chain, and if you don't comply with what is required for future, this is not going to happen if there is no regulation. If there is a regulation, it will happen.
You've talked about the manufacturing part, and you've talked about how you're going to ramp up Mochico shoes further to strengthen capacity and kind of, produce more. What's happening? So that's the manufacturing story. What on the consumer side, what's the plan?
Well, as I mentioned, Agilitas is the investing platform, which is the group entity. We have now acquired Mochico. Similarly, we are going to make investments on the consumer side. Firmly believe that at different kinds of price positionings, different kind of consumer propositions, there are there is a lot of opportunity on brands, and we would probably invest in at least 3 separate brands with different definitive positioning, which are playing at different price tiering, have a very different consumer proposition, very differentiated brand narrative. Because India is a pyramid. If you look at it today, even the biggest brand playing in sports in India, Sportswear in India, is today talking to a TAM of about 35 to 40 million in a country of 1.5 billion. Because, of course, this is now widening with more disposable income, more digital penetration and stuff like that. But on the consumer side, we see that at today's date, how can we be relevant to at least 100 million Indians? Because everyone needs good quality brands and good quality products. It has happened in a lot of other segments. It hasn't happened in sportswear as much. How can you create aspirational brands which are also accessible from a price point perspective?
When you say invest, as in, are you looking to like acquire brands?
Yeah, it's a mix of acquisition as well as licensing of existing global trademark. We will license for India. We will also acquire.
So when you will license and operate in India?
We will license and operate. We will create the entire India journey for that brand. A brand which has today got some heritage value, got a roster of designs and products, but they need an India, operations and India, maybe even India designs, because India has its own, again, consumer choices in terms of styling, functionality. And imagine, like today, if I look at entry, mid, and top, I feel in every segment there is an opportunity to come up with a strong brand which really has a great value by price ratio, which offers a great value to the consumer, great functionality, good quality designs, good quality product construction, good quality of final product, which really lasts and serves their needs. And I feel there's a big gap in this market. So we are going to invest in this on the consumer side. Very soon you will see us rolling these plans out with announcements on what we are working on right now.
So you plan to license, I'm assuming long-term licenses for a few brands, and you also plan to acquire something. So obviously you're not looking to start a brand from scratch.
Yeah, so if you look at the thesis of Agilitas, the way we started is like we could have just been starting like a D2C brand, a single D2C brand, raising capital and doing the journey of a D2C company, a D2C brand. But we felt that that would take a long time to create. And also, it's a very long journey. And we wanted to crash this time because we see a lot of opportunity coming in the next 5 to 6 years. Now, if we have to be relevant 5 years from down, also on the consumer side, building from scratch has its own time and resources and all that. So we are looking at places where there is a recall value, there is a strong heritage value in terms of licensing. In terms of acquisition also, we are looking at brands which have recall, which have certain propositions, certain associations. And acquiring them will mean that we have a good starting point, and then we can scale that by fixing for product, because creating great products in India from a design, from a creative direction, right from scratch, building great designs, which generally sports footwear is not where I'm focusing right now on footwear, because footwear is the largest category. From design to constructing that shoe to getting that retailed. And I see that to be a big opportunity. And again, we would like to start from, I'd say we would like to start from level 2 to go to the level 2 to level 100 journey is much better suited to us.
Abhishek, so you've already raised 430 crores, we 400 from Convergence and 30 with, private and personal investors. I believe you are about to announce another 100 crores or so. So give me some details about who you're raising the next round from.
Yeah, so we did a second round of fundraise, and this time with a growth VC. We were very happy and proud to get Nexus Venture Partners into the Agilitas family. They have a great lineage and a great history of very successful investing on different platform companies on the tech side, and we have raised 100 crores from them. So we now have all the convergent finance backed investment companies, investment funds, and Nexus Venture Partners joining the Agilitas family.
And can I assume that now with you've spent some money in acquisition of Mochiko, but the rest of the money will be deployed into maybe acquiring or maybe licensing international brands and bringing them here?
Yes, so majority of our capital will now go into the consumer side investments that we are working on and we are going to announce, and that's where deployment of capital is going to go. I'm also talking about our new investors. I'm super excited with the kind of opening of doors that Nexus does for us, talking about our first investor, which is led by Harsha Raghavan's Convergent Finance. I now see us to be a very, very complementing team between the three of us as co-founders, Harsha and team, and now Suvir Sujan from Nexus Venture Partners and his team. So we have armed ourselves well, is what I would say.
And how fast can we expect news on the consumer retail front?
So I think our first announcement on that front is probably about 45 days away.
Wow. Let's talk about the footwear space. Would I be accurate to assume, even with my conversations with you earlier, one has come to the realization that the sneaker industry is quite underpenetrated in India if you compare it to other peer markets, right? How do you see the future of sneakers really as a trend, as a habit, as more women accepting sneakers as as something that they can replace with open shoes, for instance, right? How do you see that growth happening?
Well, I think there are multiple levels of this growth. One is that India is one of the lowest per capita consumption in terms of footwear. It's about 1.9, including all open footwear, all the entire unorganized segment. Okay. It's about 1.9 compared to China, which is about, let's say, about 7 pairs per capita consumption. Now, there is a huge headroom on that one, right? And that will happen as the overall economy grows and disposable income grows. People would want to invest. Let's specifically talk of footwear here. The second thing that will happen is, with more money, people will all start premiumizing themselves. So people who today buy from a very unorganized market with very poor quality, substandard brand proposition will upgrade themselves to brands. And then from entry-level brands, they will move to the mid-level brands. And the mid-level brands, they will move to the higher-level brands. So all of this entire thing will move up, that itself will become very, very, that itself will get in this growth. Third thing is, the usage occasions are growing. Today, with more and more people playing more sport, that is requiring, people used to have one shoe for every sport, a multi-purpose.
Sure.
Now people with running, they want a good running shoe for road running. They want to have a separate shoe for the gym. They want to play squash. They want to play, let's say, football. All of them, they're coming. People will need multi-purpose. People will need shoes for different purposes. Speaking specifically about women, I think it's a big untapped market for sports companies. And the reason I say this is, today I feel when I look around in India, the real sneaker culture hasn't happened yet. If you just look around, even in the top tier markets in Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, and even in the most premium, when you go out looking around in the restaurants and in offices, you will see people not the affinity to wear sneaker hasn't that happened yet. So women would wear a lot of open footwear in India, right? And that's given, whether you call it historical reasons or weather, or it's just easier to buy 5 different types of open footwear. The entry price is much lower than a full sneaker. Whatever be the reason, the trend hasn't happened.
Sure.
It will happen, and it is happening. It's a fact that today for sportswear brands, women contribute about 20% to the revenue, right?
Total footwear.
Or of total sports footwear.
Sports footwear.
Now, of course, this will slowly change. Now, sportswear brands will wait for this change to happen, and it will happen with more sneakerization happening. But I think there is also an opportunity to look at the open footwear market and see what one can do to get women to, this from open footwear to sneaker. There can be a good bridge, because a lot of open footwear today come with extreme discomfort. When it might look fashionable, but it might be very uncomfortable. So there is an opportunity to look at even the open footwear market and making it more comfortable and bridge that to a sneaker culture going forward. So I personally am convinced that it's a big opportunity on the women's side.
Abhishek, the brands you're looking to license and maybe even acquire, can you give me a sense of which part of the pyramid it is catering to? Are you looking at entry-level brands, mid-level?
Well, we would like to play in all the parts of the pyramid, but we would like to start with entry and mid. Okay. Clear reasons for that. That has the highest size of price in India, and that's where the market needs good quality brands, great quality products, operated with good customer experience. I think there is a big dearth there, and that's where we will start with. But going forward, and we're also going to stage this, right? We're not going to pick all the brands and get started running from day one. We'll have to phase this. But I would like to believe that we will start with the entry brand the first.
Fair enough, fair enough. Anything else you'd like to add that I may not have addressed, before I let you go?
I think overall, I just wanted to say that having done this journey from corporate to entrepreneurship, I think there are a lot of people today on the corporate side have the energy and the vision, but probably they don't take the plunge because of sometimes being in this zone of steady state. I can only say that breaking that steady state for me has been the best decision of my life. I don't regret my corporate life at all. In fact, it has got me ready to take on the challenges in a bit more, I would say, clear way. I probably, while the world will change, I probably know certain things which puts me in a better shape to start my entrepreneurial journey. But I think with all of that is happening in India, I think a lot of people should be taking this journey that I have taken. I think India has so much opportunity in the next 20 years. It is our time to lose, honestly, if we don't do this.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I wanted to leave behind.
Well, Abhishek Ganguly there batting for entrepreneurship in India. But on that note, thank you so much. Wishing you all the very best and a lot of power to Agilitas. And hopefully we'll hear a lot more interesting happenings at Agilitas, which will come to the fore shortly. So thank you so much and all the very best until next time.
Thank you so much.